Welcome to this episode of Frame, your resource for what's happening in arts in Eastern Iowa. Today we have the pleasure and the privilege of stopping by the Chait Gallery in downtown Iowa City, and we're speaking with one of the founders and owners and artist himself, Mr. Benjamin Chait. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having us over today.
You know, we are committed to, presenting the arts to the Iowa City community. We have a very eclectic selection of art and change things pretty regularly.
I saw that you define your gallery as a modern contemporary venue. How do you define modern contemporary?
Well, I guess when I say eclectic, I feel that we have a very wide range of, work that we offer, from very traditional to, more contemporary. Contemporary is probably more the flavor of the venue itself in terms of the aesthetic that we offer to present the art in.
How do you have it set up?
We feature, a body of work by an artist for the most part. And we like to have, a representation of a consistent body of work. Artists can have a lot of variety in the work that they do, but when we present, a body of that particular work, we kind of like connect, 3 to 5, 6 or 8 pieces together. I've got several artists that do lots of different styles of work, and we group those separately. And what we try to do is avoid a situation where, a particular body of work or style of work is so overpowering that you can't see, what's next to it. And, they kind of have to get along. Just like, when you would install something in your house, you would want it to get along with what's around it, with the environment that it's in, with your personality and your style.
What do you encourage consumers to do when they walk in? Let's say somebody walks in for the first time. There is a stigma that we talked about galleries. Some people think, oh my God, I could never walk into the door. I don't have the means, or it's totally unapproachable. How do you help people begin to understand art and then to understand how to collect art?
Well, again, it's a very, personal, experience. Galleries tend to have that stigma of, unapproachability or like a museum. People come in here and want to know if they can come in, or thank me for letting them come in, or, can they buy something? I mean, everything in here is for sale. That's how we survive.
It seems like an easy way to add art into your world. And I know it can be in any room, but I think this would be a really fun series to install in a kid's room. Mm-hmm. And they're affordable price points.
Diane Naylor is a Fairfield artist who is quite a good artist, and we get her three-dimensional work. We don't get her two-dimensional work.
Talk about fish lips.
Yeah, every one of them has a name and a personality.
I am Noah. I am.
Yeah, they're like
Bernice.
Sid Vicious, that kind of thing. Her names are.
Oh, that's great. Cheeky.
Yeah.
Campy.
Yeah.
Fun.
Spent some time in Belize, so I mean his work is Caribbean flavored.
That's exactly it. Very vibrant, very rich, and hue. And something unusual. I haven't seen a
Right.
lot of that
Yeah.
work around this area. A lot of
Yeah, it's a
more
little
subdued
different.
work.
Mhm.
Maybe talk about your work now.
My work is digital imaging, primarily landscapes and local architecture. It's what I see when I travel the state. The landscapes are very popular because people, like Iowa. They like the region. People are surprised at how diverse Iowa really is. It's not flattened corn.
Nebraska, that's flat.
Yeah.
Iowa, not so much. But we do have beautiful landscapes, and I think that more people are beginning to appreciate the diversity.
People see the work and then they come back and say, well, I pay more attention now, to what I see when I drive. Becca Ash is a very popular local artist. She teaches in the grade schools, and she's becoming very well known, even nationally, as an artist. Her style is continuing to evolve. Her women of color have been very popular. She didn't start doing those, but recently she has.
It's hard to find work with women of color in them.
Yeah.
Her work is very now, it's the style that I'm seeing in the fashion world coming out of New York and in Europe. So that's really fun that she's local.
Yeah.
And these are oil.
Yeah, she's starting to work in acrylic, but I think most of these are oil.
Here. Oil over here.
It takes her months and months to work on a painting, just because she lives in them for so long, and they change, they evolve. She doesn't like it, she'll paint over it and take pieces from whatever was there and let it generate something different. She sells well.
Louise
She
Rault?
does the big, Louise Rao.
Rao?
Yeah.
Okay.
She does the big shows on the East Coast periodically.
Beautiful, beautiful work. Why do artists sign their work?
People like to have a connection with, that it's made by somebody.
Does it increase the value over time to have an original signed piece versus an unsigned piece?
Yeah, because then you know who did it.
This piece is really fun. It has such a surprise. So, you see this feature here? You can actually pick up the center and look inside. Benjamin, they look like books.
They probably are. She does a lot of book stuff. Literature and literary and thinking and thought.
Gathering Strength is the name of this piece. So maybe it's books that feed the heart.
Yeah. John Coyne is a really good sculptor. I think he's on a fishing boat in Alaska right now.
I can see that influence. A lot of nature scenes, and it looks like a little mythology. Look at this one. A buffalo. Is this buffalo or bison? Help me out here. Buffalo or bison? This looks like the skyline of a major city, and then these to me look like UFOs. Where are we going with this? What is it? It's whatever you want it to be, I'm sure. That's exactly what it is. It's subjective to your interpretation. I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on here, but that's the fun of art. So let's check out John Coyne's Athena sculpture. Give us your feedback in social media and Facebook, art, and Twitter. Very intriguing. Well, look at the bullets. All right. We responded to my comment about these pieces. And I was almost even more riveted when you told me what they were made out of. This is David Luck. Benjamin told me that David Luck made the sculpture out of 22 casings. I think it's quite riveting, don't you? Now that I've picked out all the new artwork for my personal space, I did leave some for all of you, but thank you so much for coming to the Shake Galleries with me today. Tonight we're in downtown Iowa City at the Gallery Walk, so join us as we take you on an artistic journey to all the venues and the people who create art in this area. All right, we've sauntered down to Arts Iowa City, and we are meeting with a new artist. She does incredible work. I can't wait to introduce you to textile artist Susan Shinnick. How are you?
Great.
Thanks so much for letting us talk to you about your work. So tell us about the pieces that we have around us, and what is a textile artist?
Well, I start with the fabric, which usually starts out white, and I dye and silk screen, and then piece together different fabrics. Okay. And I use a lot of imagery from Iowa, and natural plant forms and animals.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So you find the fabric. Do you have a certain type of fabric you like working with?
Generally silk and linen natural fabrics.
Okay. So you start with the natural fabric in white, and then from there, how do you design the structure of the garment and marry that with the pattern?
Well, from the color, I print the fabric, and I have a really long print table, and then I'll dye it, and then the combination of the texture and the color will sort of help determine what sort of garment I'll make out of it. And usually I'm sort of working in a certain range of colors generally, and so I'll do things that coordinate with other things that I'm doing, and sort of keep moving from there.
So do you have a color palette in mind when you start? I'm interested because the patterns are so rich and the colors seem to complement them so well. So is it the pattern first and the color next, or vice versa?
Usually it's pattern and then color, but it can go either way.
I see you have a lot of sheer pieces. How do you suggest a woman wear a sheer garment?
I do solids that go underneath. Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
For the show that they're hanging sheer.
Okay. So layered, obviously, for modesty, if you will, or coverage. All right. Let's talk about this piece. I really love this jacket. This to me seems a little Southwestern, but yet a little Asian-inspired.
I think, I'm always inspired by a lot of different ethnic textiles, and this actually uses some wax print, which is a traditional African fabric, and then I have Asian fabrics in different kimono pieces that I've recycled, and I unite them by over-dyeing them after I piece them, and it sort of marries the color. And then I use quilting to sort of marry the fabric into one sort of solid piece.
Describe your typical client, if there's a typical woman, if you will, who would wear these garments.
I really have clients that range in age from young women to, older women. But there's a certain segment of the population that loves textiles, and they're attracted to them, and they're adventurous and want to be unique, and those are the people that I find are my clients.
They're very adventurous, and you do have to have a strong sense of style, I think, to wear your pieces. Yeah. This sweater is really beautiful. It's quite my style. And I noticed that you use hemp. Tell the audience a little bit about hemp.
Well, it's a great fiber because you don't have to use as many pesticides and things when you're growing it. It used to be used to make, and probably still is, to make ropes and all sorts of utilitarian textiles. So, yeah.
This piece attracted my eye. I told you it reminds me of a 20s kind of flapper piece, very delicate. What was your inspiration for creating this emerald? Elegant.
Well, I do love that time period, and also the decade before that with the sort of dropped waist. And then once again, I think it came from the fabric and the color, and just went from there.
Is this silk?
Yeah, it's a silk chiffon, and it's silk screened with linden leaf, which is a local tree around here.
It's beautiful.
And it looks great with the necklace.
Yes, the necklace really makes it pop. Susan, this piece reminds me of the current story that we're seeing in fashion. A lot of prints, a combination of fabrics as well as patterns. What's the story and inspiration behind these two beautiful pieces?
Well, this is has sort of a Victorian feel, I guess, with the high-necked gathered neckband. And this is just another combination of different textural fabrics that, with the natural patterns and kimono and silk. And I guess I don't actually think about what's going on in fashion. I just sort of keep doing my own thing.
Don't you think people are moving into a period of more individuality and not being so restricted with, okay, this is what it is for this 5 minutes, and next 5 minutes or something else? What are you seeing on the street as far as what people are wearing?
And another thing I think has to do with living in a community like this, in a university community where people have more freedom to, at least, staff and working people have more freedom to wear whatever they want, and they don't have to fit into some sort of business profile or...
That's true. You don't have all these boxes to check. You must look like this.
Yeah. Universities tend to be good markets for me. Yeah.
Good. Are you in other markets outside of your studio and store in West Branch?
I do sell some things in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and in the past I've sold in Minneapolis and in like Santa Fe and California, but yeah, so.
I can completely see those markets loving your work. There's some other pieces over here that I wanted you to expose the audience to. And it looks like this particular piece has some metallic detailing on it.
I often use sort of a metallic pigment. It just creates a little bit of more visual interest and reflects light, which is always beautiful.
How do you clean that? How do you maintain your garment?
It is heat set, so you can dry clean it or hand wash it, and it's permanent. Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I love it with Dawn's jewelry. The calamari, champagne calamari, that's great. This combination of texture, color, it's like a patchwork effect, a very upscale patchwork effect. What's the story behind this?
Well, I actually started out doing a lot of quilts for the wall, so I've always loved sewing different pieces together, and this was a chance to use up my gazillions of little pieces of my hand-dyed and printed fabric to make modern sort of patchwork garments. And it makes a really neat texture if you're using sort of the textured silks and the different weights and different patterns.
I see such an Asian influence. You have so many kimonos, as you told us. You've reconstructed garments based upon those. This one, to me, just is such a powerful statement. Did you ever study in Asia or spend time in Asia?
No, but I, of course, love the whole tradition of different Asian textiles and basically any textile from all over the world I'm interested in. But Asia has a strong red tradition, so yeah.
And this one is made out of something that we haven't seen in the other pieces. What is the foundation fabric?
It's made out of linen, and it's a bias cut, which I actually use a lot. It can be quite flattering on people if cut the right way, and it allows fabric to be more drapey and form to the body. So it's a nice way to cut garments.
We appreciate your time, and thank you for exposing us and our audience to your work. I have successfully corralled another artist. In fact, I'm also wearing one of her pieces. So let me introduce you to the amazing artist behind this glass jewelry I'm wearing. Dawn Harbor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us about your art. You work in glass. It's very whimsical, very beautiful.
Thank you very much. I am a longtime jewelry designer. I've professionally designed jewelry since 1985. And in 1993, I started working with glass and learning that process on my own. Yeah.
It's a fun process. I've learned a little bit about it recently, and so it's interesting. Why don't you describe the process of firing your glass, and what are some of the common steps that you go through to create your work?
Well, the glass work that I do is flame work glass, which means that glass is melted on a torch.
Okay.
And the techniques I use are very similar to that, the techniques you would use at a furnace. So if you've ever had the opportunity to see hot glass work at a furnace.
Yes.
So the techniques are very similar on a smaller scale.
Okay.
And rather than blowing glass down a tube, I would build it up on a wire or on a metal rod.
Okay.
And so the process begins with a long stem of glass that most of my colors are Italian glass. So I get meter lengths of glass rods from Italy. And those lengths are cut and then fed through a torch. So I melt them on the torch and feed them through, kind of creating a nice gather of molten material in the end. And on the back side of the flame, I would have.
So where does the color come in? Because you have such lively, vibrant colors.
Now the color is in the glass when I buy it. The selections, the collections, the blends are my own. But I get color sticks and then I combine them to get the colors that I want.
So,
And
for this detailing right here, is that part of the glass stick that you buy? Or
So-
is that a detail you add on later?
So both.
Okay.
So the blue, the periwinkle center would be a rod of glass in that color.
Okay.
And I would feed that through the flame. And I work with a really specific sort of, but loose, both specific and loose at the same time.
It's like specific and vague.
Yeah, well, yes, it's not quite vague, but I handle the glass in such. I'm looking for a particular temperature because when I work with my glass at a certain temperature, I can get the glass to stretch and expand. Once I lay my glass down in a footprint, or essentially these would essentially come from a basic disc format.
Okay.
I would stack my layers of glass up in sort of on top of each other so they would make sort of a disc.
Okay.
And then I would work with the heat to stretch that and smooth that surface.
Oh, fascinating.
And then when you see these nice pulls, these more organic shapes,
Right.
I do that by how I handle the heat, and then also using my glass rod as a tool to help me shape so either stretch it or roll it, because I can't usually quite get in there with my fingers.
Sure.
So,
Would you want to with the heat on there?
you know, the couple times I've come close, I know better. There's not enough lavender to soothe my skin, I'm afraid. I'd work in this glass series, and then after I have maybe an abundance of this color in pieces, then I shape my piece. Then I sculpt the jewelry, like what pieces complement each other to make the jewelry form I want.
Got it.
So it's really 2 steps of creativity, and also, while the glass is in the flame, it also often knows where it's going. You know, I'm designing a piece from the torch all the way through to the end jewelry.
Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. How often do you design? And what I mean by that, do you create collections and follow a typical fashion world, spring and then a fall, winter collection?
I certainly have to do some of that. I think any artist that wants to sell their work has to do some of that. And so sometimes it's seasonal. I think when you're an artist working to a season, you're not necessarily in the fall when you're working in fall colors. You're not in the spring when you're working in the spring colors. They kind of rhythmically come before the season, and so go with you. Like I might have started working in sort of butterscotch and cherry tones, maybe, you know, yeah, the end of July, yeah, unless you know, and so that way they're ready for the galleries in the fall. You want to try on one of these
Yes,
cups?
let's
Should
do
we
it.
switch them?
Let's switch.
All right.
You know, you can have more than one,
Yes.
and that's totally
Yes,
fine.
One Piatini
That's-
form.
That's right.
Exchange for a, you want
Let's see.
which color would you like?
You
Onion?
pick. You're the artist.
This
you
is
pick.
my favorite.
All right, let's try it. Is this leather?
The black cording is rubber on this one. Some of the pieces are on leather. This one's on rubber. And this would be a Piatti 2 rail cuff. And please feel free to let that glass sing.
And what if I get a little too wild? Do
Um,
you have to really watch it? Is delicate
glass
or?
is really surprisingly durable.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's not going to take impact, but neither are your stones, neither are your gemstones or your ceramics. Doesn't like to be dropped on concrete. Otherwise, it's really durable.
Not a good idea.
No. I wear my work when I'm setting up shows, hauling things around. Really check it out. I have a couple of relatives that are rough on things. I test them out on them.
Quality control department.
Exactly.
Please tell us about the organization.
Oh, I'd love to. Arts Iowa City is a long-time nonprofit organization in Iowa City. It was initially put together, and hopefully to this day still works to get people's art to the public, support the creative arts in our community. We have a membership in Iowa City, so artists are welcome to join Arts Iowa City. And when you join Arts Iowa City, you will have not only the opportunity to potentially show your work in the Arts Iowa City Gallery,
Which is where we are right now.
here below the Wells Fargo Bank building, a very lovely and generous donation by Mark Moen and Bobby Jett.
Very, very lovely space. Now, what if you're outside of the Iowa City area? Can you still participate in the organization?
Sure, we welcome any Iowa artist to be part of Arts Iowa City, certainly.
Where do we learn more? Do you have a website?
ArtsIowaCity.org, yep.
All right. Well, everybody check that out. You've got to find out how you can participate and how you can support the arts as well. Anything else you would like to educate us about when it comes to art and your personal journey? What have you learned? What have you learned that has shaped your world?
I'm supposed to give you sage advice at this moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To the artists out there, do your work. It's important. Get a fair price for your work. Educate your public as to what they're being a part of. It's really important. I think artists often sell themselves short, and use the connections to get your work out there. And here we can help.
Wonderful. I agree. Couldn't have said it better. So thank you so much, Dawn Harbor. Thank you for the beautiful jewelry I'm wearing. I promise I will give it back, maybe.
I'm sure we can work something out.
And thank you for educating us about Arts Iowa City. So, all right, Iowa City, please come down to Arts Iowa City and all the other incredible artistic venues we have and support your local artists. I'm Yvette Craddock. Thanks for joining us for Frame.